You can call it a game, but I call it escape. Building generals to stomp your face like Scipio, semi in the great.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of EvonyBites. I got two questions sort of in a row here on YouTube. You said you were pure defense. Can you make a video on how to be more defensive player? And hello friend, what are your layers? So I thought both of these are a little bit defense related, so I'll address both of those in this video. So let's go over those. All right, so let's first take a look at layers and just get that out of the way. The question's been asked, what kind of layers do I run? Now, this is going to kind of be a dual answer here. This will also go into what does it mean to be a defense player. Well, one of those aspects is if I was an attack player, I would absolutely focus more on my attack. When it comes to troops, I would have nice attack waves, but I wouldn't necessarily be absolutely chunky on defense unless I were playing a dual account like attack and defense, if I was blessed enough to be able to do both. But most people have to kind of pick and choose, and there's a lot of options along the way that force you to pick and choose, which is what we'll go over in this video. But in troops, obviously I lean towards defense, and that's representative in my troops because of how heavy they are. If you're just going for attack alone, you don't need to have all these troops. In fact, it doesn't make sense to have all these troops. If you're going attack alone, you just need a nice attack waves that maybe you can hide, you can be maneuverable, get around the map a little bit better, and that's kind of a hawk way of playing. A hawk watches out for opportunities, keeps sharp eyes, is very careful. It can't really defend itself majorly. It can't let anything get a hold of it, but doesn't need to. It's quick and powerful when it hits, so it's opportunistic. That's a hawk. If you're going to do that, you don't need all these troops. What I play is more turtle, or in my adapted style, anglerfish, which is to pull people in and you want them to hit you. If they don't hit you, you're not that much of a threat. You're a turtle. You know, a blown apart zombie could, with no legs, could get away from a turtle. But it's hard to hurt. So I'm built more like that. And you can see my layering going on. Obviously heavy at the top. I represent the T-13, but that's where I drop off cavalry myself. I just don't carry it in there. There are ways around that. You can ghost, hide them, overpower them with your other layerings. I choose to not have them present there. Don't even have 14. Moving to 12, I do keep them pretty heavy. And then I do represent Cav in 12, just so that layer's there. It happens to work really well for me to have that layering of 12 in there due to the bonus boost that 12 has that we've talked about before. And certainly my T12 siege I keep up there pretty high. I wouldn't mind having 10. Now, something I'm getting ready to do based on the last server war video that I posted and those guys that I fought that knocked me down pretty well with the T11 siege, one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be stacking the crap out of my T11 siege. I'll probably build 20 million. And we'll get into that in future videos and see if we can't stop the T11 attacks. I've been putting a lot of work into that. Anyways, I keep about 1 million going down pretty even. You can see I started to build a little more T11 siege already. Other than my cav, I keep those at half capacity, meaning around 500,000. But everything else I keep at about 1 million. Pretty clean all the way down. Million, 500,000, million, 500,000. All the way down, pretty simple. Until such time you reach T1. I keep a couple million of everything, and then I keep 200 plus million of the T1 cav. Now those T1 cav are like that because they do my cav fighting. They protect against a ground attack specifically. Nothing else in my defenses really fight a ground attack, only those T1. And then if you hit me with anything else, nothing else really engages those T1. Only ground really do. And that's because of mostly the absence of cavalry going all the way up. And I just keep those T1 as a supplement to fight ground. So it's an adaptation and a usage of a T1 defense, but in a full rainbow defense. All right, that's layers. So what is defense? And, someone asked, what does it mean when I say I'm a defensive player? Well, in this, we're going to answer what it means if you're a defensive player or an attack player, or possibly both. And that is decisions. Decisions determine whether you're an attack or a defensive player. There are certain points and data sets in the game that require you to choose things that would be more oriented to attack and things that would be more oriented to defense. In this way, you are, and everyone is forced to sort of lean one way or the other. You can do that across the board, and you can represent both. A lot of people do that. I think that would be more beneficial to those who have the luxury of playing both at a top level. Then you can kind of spread that out and do both. A little bit of attack choices, a little bit of defense choices. The way I choose to play, and what I mean when I call myself a pure defense player, is that every single fork in the road that gives me an option to either beef up or boost or maximize my attack, or beef up or boost or maximize my defense, I choose defense as default. So what guides me? How do I know which one to pick? It's not really relevant what's in there, what I'm picking. What's relevant is, does it affect my defense? If the answer to that in every decision I make in Evony is yes, then that is the path that I take. Obviously, if there are multiple answers of yes, multiple things that affect defense, I've got to choose which one is best for me. But as far as choosing between attack and defense, or something that doesn't really help me defensively as much, I'm going to choose defense. Obviously, in the cases where I can't choose defense, it doesn't matter here, right? But there are a number of places. I will give you some examples. Your general focus, for one, what I mean by that is, as you get resources, as you build things up, as you get items, as you mature, where are you putting the most focus? Now, again, there are a few with the luxury to just put it everywhere, but for most of us, we've got to kind of pick. So this being my defense general, you see I've got 5 Civ pieces on them, and I've got 4 of them with blue stars, 3 of them already completely finished out there, the little glowing fancy ones there. When you go into the amplify, which I can't because that one's done. Here we go. Okay, when you go into amplify, when you get it fully amplified, that's 5 stars on there. So I've only got 1 on that puppy, but 3 on the other ones. So I've put a lot into him. I've done the dragon on him up the most. So I've worked my defense dragon over my attack dragon or any other dragon. So that's preferential. So that's a decision I've made there. When you look at my primary, say, archer attack general, you can see I do have 3 or 4 Civ pieces on them, but they're mixed. And I only have 3 blue stars, so my focus hasn't gone here. My dragon's not as high. I've got him at a level 10. I've got my defense dragon at a level 13. So I've put emphasis on dragon, emphasis on my defense general. So those are decisions I can make that lean towards defense. Your globus, your treasure. This right here, so whatever you're wearing, again, if I'm interested in attack, I've got attacking mounted troop, attacking troops attack, marching troops defense. That's probably a really good one for attack. Monsters, attacking monsters, that's what I'm into. Maybe here, maybe I'm doing a lot of fighting and I have great buffs. I'm not too worried about that, and I want to debuff. But for me, I've got the Globus Cruciger, that deal. I've got it on level 4, and you can see it's giving me in-city troop attack 15%, in-city troop defense 30%, in-city troop HP 30%, enemy sees machine attack negative 37.5. And then when it's being used, it's activating healing speed plus 22.5%. So this is obviously completely and almost entirely geared towards defense. So I've made the choice to use the Globus. That's another decisive action I've taken that leans me towards defense and makes me a pure defense player. All right, sub-cities. This is another major one. Again, if I were interested in attack, I would be choosing Japan or Japanese sub-cities. Why is that? Because it increases marching attack. So all my marching troops are beefed up in the essence of attack if I have all Japan sub-cities, so that would be beneficial. But since I'm defense, I have again decisively chosen to have nothing but Russian sub-cities. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be 7 purples and 3 golds, all Russian. Going into that, you see that it's in-city troop attack 10% and trap attack 15%. So those 3 golds right there alone are in-city troop attack. All troops, all 4 types, all the way up and down, 30%. So that's a choice I've made that has leaned me towards defense. Now, you ask, well, that makes you defense? Well, yeah, it does. Not only does it give me all the buffs in defense, but it doesn't give me any buffs in attack. So I'm losing all the attack benefit because my subs do absolutely nothing for me on attack, but I'm gaining maximum benefit into my defense. So a decision I've made it there that has upped me big time into a defensive posture. Troops is another thing, but we went over that, and we're going to be oriented, heavy troops. In defense, you just got to have a lot of beef to be able to stand there and really take it. A T1 defense is entirely different, but that works, But in this case, I'm just talking about a full defense type. You got to be hot and heavy to get out there and stand. And to be an attacker, you don't really have to do that. Go into March presets and say you've got a Cav preset sitting there, and then you've got an Archer preset, and then you've got a Ground preset, and then you've got a Siege preset. Well, those are really the only troops you have to have for an attacker, is those 4 waves, and you should be able to ghost those 4 waves. So you should be able to take hits all you want, release your troops, take defenses when you want to, when you know you can win, and release the appropriate attack wave that you've got ghosted specifically into attack waves, so that you can cancel that attack wave, hit someone with it, and ghost it again. And it allows you to be pretty maneuverable to get around in an attack sense. Now, blazons are another thing. If you've watched my blazon video, you know that I don't just leave it up to Evony to tell me which one to use and target these sets down here. Instead, I just pick the ones that I want, and I do that based on the ones that give me the most in-city that I can get. Let's find the attacks. I really like, okay. The attack ones here, all right. Whatever. So take a look here, and you see defending Siege Machine hit points, defending Siege Machine hit points, right? And then going up here to this one, Siege Machine hit points, Siege Machine hit points. Of course, this has got marching. In any case, what you want to pay attention to in here is if you ever have a decision, there's specific sets and specific pieces that are going to help you out more in attack or help you out more in defense. And obviously when you get those things up there, I don't have them all max, but I've got them pretty high. When you get these things up here, they start doing a lot for you. And if you were to choose things that were attack oriented, that would not only cut you out of defense options and make you less powerful on defense, it would make you a whole lot more powerful on attack, and vice versa. If I were to make defensive choices inside my blazons, it's going to help me out a whole lot in defense, but none at all in attack. So then again, I'm leaning myself. If you combine all these things together, if you've made all these decisions based on defense, you can call yourself a defense player. If you've made all these decisions based on attack, you can call yourself an attack player. Now, tech kind of plays into this. The reason tech doesn't necessarily play into it for most people is only in the beginning stages. Does tech really play into it? What I mean by that is when you start on a new server and you're getting your tech build up, do I want to focus on military? Do I want to focus on defense? Do I want my medical up? What am I going to be doing here? But if you go in here and you just boost military, well, you're getting pretty strong and you're helping yourself out in both places, for sure. But you're orienting towards attack more than if you were to go in and just build defense. But if you did that, your attack wouldn't be, ideal. But your defense would. So it's decisions to make along the way that lean you defense and military, or defense or attack. The reason it doesn't matter in the long haul is because you end up just doing all the tech anyway. And an attack player ends up with either a good defense method or a decent defense and a great attack. And a defense player ends up with an ideal and fantastic defense, but not that great of an attack. But as a side effect of defense, you end up with pretty good attacks because you're meaty, you're fat, you're thick, you've got all your tech done everywhere, you've filled it out, you have made a lot of troops. So if you get maxed out tech and have the stuff to support the troops, then you've got a general, then you have plenty of troops to send out. I can send an attack march of any type of troop I want at any given time and still have plenty of troops at home to defend and not have to worry about that. So having mass troops is very nice in that way. I can attack all I want. What a lot of players do is wait until someone marches and try to hit them during that time because they're vulnerable, because maybe they have 1 or 1.5 million archers out, so they hit them then. But in my case, with the amount of troops that I have, or a defense player with my situation, you don't have to worry about that. If I have a march out, it makes no difference whatsoever. There's no vulnerability at all. So that's some of the things that address those two questions, going in on layering and what I run, and then also what does a defense player mean. I could show you attack more if I was attack oriented, but just take mine and flip-flop it and make every decision in dragons, in general focus, in your globuses and treasures, in your sub-cities, your troops, your blazons, and your tech kinda, and focus those things and flip-flop them from defense to attack, and you are now an attack-oriented player. I say pure defense is because I stay totally dedicated to the defense decision. If ever there is an option for me to go defense, I go defense, period. I will sacrifice anything for that. And to me, that's called a pure defense player. Or if you do the same thing for attack, that's a pure attack player. That's being committed and dedicated to either attack or defense. Well, guys, thanks for joining in. This has been another episode with EvonyBites, and we'll see you guys next time. Out.